Why don't we jump right into our first topic of the day? Unfortunately, this is very much a developing story. We don't know a ton about it other than that Sam Altman is out as CEO of OpenAI. My news source here says fired. Oh, yes, that's true. Okay, we do know that. The board has ousted Altman for allegedly lying to them, which I guess would make it pretty hard to do your job. They claim that they no longer have confidence in his ability to lead, and they now need an alt man. I added that last part. That was me. I take full responsibility for that. They say his departure follows a deliberative review process by the board, which concluded that he was not consistently candid in his communications. So not only did they fire him, they fired him, they called him a liar. Dang. It's not really clear at this time what Mr. Altman is alleged to have hidden from the board, but OpenAI CTO Mira Murati has taken over as the interim CEO. Sam did tweet. He says, "I loved my time at OpenAI. It was transformative for me personally and hopefully the world a little bit. Most of all, I loved working with such talented people. We'll have more to say about what's next later." Our discussion question here is, how big of a deal is this, and will it affect the long and short-term future of AI development? I think, he's already ready. He's ready to talk. He's opening up the chest. He's inhaling the air. He's ready to let it out.
Yeah, I think it's an extremely big deal. I think it's a big deal for a bunch of reasons. OpenAI is clearly a market leader, and Greg Brockman, the co-founder and president of OpenAI, stepped down as well. So Sam was fired. Greg Brockman stepped down just hours after Sam was fired, immediately quitting. And I think this is going to spell probably a lot of other people at OpenAI stepping down, which, I don't think is going to necessarily result in the destruction of the market leader of OpenAI, just due to the amount of money and backing that Microsoft is able to put behind this. But it is a pretty major blow. If Silicon Valley has a golden boy right now, it is Sam Altman for sure. So to have him outed like this and to have some really big names from OpenAI, I'm saying some right now because I suspect by the time the majority of people watch this, some will be true. Right now, as far as I know, it's only one. But having the CEO and the co-founder / president both disappear within a few hours, I think that's going to end up sending waves and result in more than just those people.
Greg Brockman's statement is pretty savage. Hi, everyone. I'm super proud of what we've all built together since starting in my apartment 8 years ago. We've been through tough and great times together, accomplishing so much despite all the reasons it should have been impossible. But based on today's news, I quit. Damn.
Just straight into the point. Yeah.
There's another paragraph, but that was really that was the meat and potatoes of it. Wow. That is absolutely wild. I mean, this is, guys, for context, okay? This is like if in the 90s, the board had kicked out Bill Gates and Ballmer had been like, F it, I'm out. Like, here goes the founder, here goes the right-hand man, it's over. With that said, I mean, there are some people that I've seen compare Sam Altman to Steve Jobs. I don't know that they mean that in a flattering way or a negative way. There were certainly things about Mr. Jobs that were both good and admirable, and but the good thing about this is that it gives him a chance to have a very similar arc. So I see this as an absolute win.
This all happened like right now. I just got shared from Handyman in Floodplain Chat a post from Axios.com, which I don't know if I can share with Linus for screen sharing reasons right now very easily, but I'm going to try. I'm just going to post it right here. Oh, it's suggestion based. I had this removed before, and then I guess my rights were taken from me. But there's a suggestion in the doc. maybe I'm being ousted. Yeah, apparently Microsoft didn't even know this was happening, because it happened from the board. And the board, as far as my understanding goes, again, we don't have a ton of notes on this because this like just happened. But the
Wow.
board is comprised of people that actually don't have stock in the company. So Microsoft invested billions of dollars in OpenAI, as Axios said,
What, they didn't get a
and
board
didn't
seat?
know that the CEO was being ousted.
Are you kidding me? They don't have a board seat?
Not sure.
Okay, so guys, just for some context, you are not necessarily a member of the board of directors just because you are an investor. And you are not necessarily an investor just because you are a member of the board of directors. But correct me if I am wrong here. Typically, it is expected that there's some skin in the game for you to be in such a position of power, such that you can vote on the actions of the company at a level that is, assuming you have a unanimous decision or even a majority decision, above the level of CEO. And also that if you are spending the kind of time and effort and energy that it would take to be a functioning member of the board of directors, that you'd probably be interested in having some skin in the game, assuming that the company wasn't shit and actually had a chance, right? So there tends to be a lot of overlap there. And it is,
Okay.
it's entirely non-investors because they're non-profit-ish, says Mail 929 in Floatplane chat. Okay, I'll admit that I don't know much about how the structures of a non-profit would work, because all of my experience is realistically just talking about this stuff on WAN Show and also running Linus Media Group Inc. So every once in a while, I will say something that is sort of based on either a like small business perspective or a Canadian perspective, because I'm not always familiar with US laws with respect to this kind of thing. But that actually kind of makes sense, but also is kind of wild. Wow.
Yeah, I think that, so we talked about this on WAN Show a long time ago. I don't remember all the details, but they were solidly nonprofit for a long time. I think the nonprofit still owns the company, but I think the nonprofit and the company that most people know about are actually different. And the company under the nonprofit is effectively for profit at this point, but still owned by this nonprofit, which would have the ability to do things like oust the CEO, I guess. Um,
Wow.
Wild, absolutely wild.
Yeah, and I mean, to
Um,
be clear, it's not like I know Mr. Altman personally. So I'm not going to sit here and go, yeah, I think he's a genius and the nicest guy you'll ever meet and whatever, right? Like, I don't actually know for a fact that they need him necessarily. They might. They also might not, but it looks like the rumor mill is moving extremely quickly right now. The only thing that I'll say about that is we should, give this a little bit of time to settle before we try to draw
yeah,
any firm conclusions, because the reality of it is, unless your name is someone who actually works directly with any of these people, of which there are maybe dozens, like not that many, even within these companies, people might not have a perfect context for exactly what any individual's contributions or lack thereof might mean for the future of the company. I think we should just give a little bit of time for the dust to settle and then see how this shakes out. It probably won't have an immediate impact on their roadmap because, these kinds of things don't change on a dime. But then again, it might. Senior leadership's out. Long live the new king. Whew.
yeah, yeah. I know one thing that I would say is that in regards to being a CEO for a like Silicon Valley style company, I think he's done a rather legendarily good job of like what that job mostly seems to be, which is like building hype and investor interest in your company.
That's fair.
Um, so
Yeah.
like I don't
Chief
think
PR
it's going to
representative
be hard.
or investor
Yeah,
relations
yeah,
representative.
pretty much. I think that's effectively what that role is for a lot of those type of companies. So I'm sure this is not the end of Mr. Altman, as far as hearing from and about him. I'm sure there will be something next. I wouldn't be surprised. I have no idea. But I wouldn't be surprised. People are saying like, "Oh, we're going to see a Steve Jobs moment where like he's outed and then he comes back." If I had to put my prediction hat on, I think the coming back, I wouldn't be too surprised if it was with Microsoft more properly.
I was gonna say, if Microsoft just hires him and then just buys OpenAI outright, I could see
Something like that.
I could see something like that potentially, but that depends. I mean, again, this comes down to not having researched or not fully understanding the nuances of how the
Totally.
whole nonprofit part of this works. It's
Yeah, me
possible
too.
that this board would be able to prevent such an acquisition from taking place. Whereas in the case of something like a public company, they might not be able to stop it as long as the acquisition was in the best interest of the individual investors who hold the shares of the company, right? Like those are rules that I do have a bit more knowledge about. But in this case, I'm in kind of uncharted territory here because this is a super weird. It's a super weird corporate structure. The fact that they started out as this nonprofit, and then my understanding is they created a for-profit entity that the nonprofit owns and controls, which is like, okay, what?
Really weird.
Yeah, how
Really
are you
weird.
how are you a nonprofit? Okay, so hold on, Luke. Linus Media Group Incorporated is a nonprofit, but Linus Tech
Yep.
Tips, the YouTube channel, totally for profit. Give me that money,
All
money,
about
money,
the
money,
money.
money, 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 money,
Yeah,
money, money,
yeah,
money,
yeah.
money. And I mean, if Linus Media Group happens to make money, then I guess we chill, right? I mean,
Yeah, of
we're
course. Why
not going
not?
to take it. We're just going to leave it. We're going to leave it in LTT Inc. It's just there. We didn't make that. They made it, and we're gonna leave it there. We're not gonna. But I'll never touch it. I promise. Like I don't know. It just seems like a super weird structure.
Yeah, someone, King Hippo in Full Play Chat said exactly how Firefox and Mozilla work. That's cool. But I think the finances running through OpenAI are a little bit more intense.
Sick.
Yeah.